Okay, so this video today is about whether or not Google Campaign Optimization Score really has much impact on the results that you're going to see through your campaign, the cost of what you're paying for everything, whether or not you're going to make any money, and just the importance / relevance of it all as a new feature, fairly new feature in Google Ads system. So anyway, as usual, I want to go through just the main high-level points as to what I found about this particular score / feature in everybody's Google Ads account, and to try to decide how serious to take it, what its relevance is to other different important aspects of what you should be doing as a person who advertises on Google Ads, so you can decide for yourself whether or not you actually want to pay attention to it or not, and just be well informed from somebody who's works in dozens of accounts at any one time or basis, and saw or has seen many different things go on with Google Ads account that took it seriously basically versus not. Okay, but anyway, here what I've done here is created a point to discuss how the actual Google Campaign Optimization Score correlates with the campaign quality itself, whether or not, it has, what is it really is its importance in what you're doing. So I want to just say right off the bat that quality score, if you're familiar with that, or if you're not familiar with that, that's the score that they give you on each individual keyword as to measure from that traffic that you get from that keyword how well it's doing in terms of click-through rates, which is about a third of the algorithm, and a third of it is a quote-unquote expected click-through, and then the landing page experience, whether or not people are bouncing back to Google or they're staying on the page and converting, which ultimately comes down to conversions per impression. How many people can you get, how many needs can you serve per request on Google looking for a particular need versus other people that you're up against trying to bid for those and do the same thing for the same keywords in your industry or space. So quality score, I just want to say right off the bat, that's way bigger, more important in terms of what you're trying to do with Google Ads ultimately and make money than the Google Campaign Optimization Score. Now, in terms of, I'll say before I go into anything else, the quality score itself does not correlate with Google Campaign Optimization Score. I want to say at all, very, very lightly. First and foremost, you want to worry about quality score, bar none. If you want to look at the Google Campaign Optimization Score as like a secondary kind of judge as to where you're at, or if you're having somebody manage your campaigns, you can have that, but this is the one that you want to look at. And it makes it a little bit hard to look at this because there's no summary judgment as to all the quality scores in your account, what you're averaging from all of them. Google should have an average account quality score that you can look at. Why they don't, I don't know. One software that I know does that I actually like, but I don't necessarily back using the software itself for myself or for people that I directly work with, is Livestream that gives you an account average quality score. But of course, beyond that, you could actually download, let's say once a month, find out what your average account quality score for all your keywords is, and then graph that out over time to see how your ad manager or you managing as yourself are doing. Because given that's going to determine mostly whether or not, or how much money you're making or not, or whether or not what you're doing is going to be profitable long term. But in and itself, beyond that, as a secondary kind of indicator as to whether or not you set your campaigns up very quote unquote good or not, I just want to say that one of the things that also people don't know is in the Google Partners program recently, and if you don't know what Google Partners is a certification that Google has that determines whether or not people who do ad management for clients like me and the firm that I run, whether or not they should be quote unquote trusted, or should I say even more so knowledgeable about the Google Ads platform. as a trust badge, if you will, or trust seal, as to whether or not that firm is capable of handling your account management, your Google Ads account management. And so it used to be that it was about taking the certification test. So then it's changed a couple times in the last few years as to meaning different things, whether or not you manage a lot of ad spend, you manage a lot of clients. Different people would need to take different certifications. The certifications would change. But recently, they added another thing which I really don't agree with, but they want you to see that you've raised the account optimization score for a lot of your clients that they're now measuring in terms of judging whether or not. So basically, they want to judge whether or not you're doing a good job based upon people's account quality, or not quality scores, Google campaign optimization scores. Now, why I don't like that is because the Google campaign optimization score does not correlate as well, because it doesn't correlate very well with the quality score. It correlates also probably, even less, I would say, than whether or not you can actually have the capable to make any money from your ads. And so what they're trying to do is incentivize us to do something that's going to cause us to get clients. So therefore, the client is going to get robbed by Google, if you will. And I don't want to say that it's all bad, because it's not, but for the most part, why are they not incentivizing quality score? Why are they incentivizing? And even that would have its own flaws, because there's certain instances where I'd have keywords with a quality score of 3 that would still make money. So you can't just look at it. It's not like a cut and dry, end all be all. You have to understand, in order to make money, lots of money at Google Ads, you have to understand marketing in terms of conversion psychology, how to serve. Like I said, the number one thing you got to look at is serving unmet needs well and efficiently, and not give people a frustrating experience doing so. And you got to understand, so with that, how to serve the end market that you're trying to serve. That's the most important. And so just because a keyword has a low quality score doesn't mean you're not doing that. It means that you're maybe not getting a high click-through rate on your ad, but you can't necessarily, because of some limitations with one or a few particular keywords, but the few people, let's say a third of the people that do click on that keyword, they convert really, really, really well. And so your quality score might be 3, 4, because the overall traffic from the keyword don't work very well, but the third of the people who do click on that keyword's ad convert well, and they make you $50,000 in sale. You obviously would want to run the ads for that keyword. So you have to take it all, look at it all relatively to what you're doing. Take it all for a grain of salt. It's a secondary way to tell whether or not, in general, you're doing better, particularly from the standpoint of, are your quality scores trending upwards in terms of deciding if you're not making any progress with the account, and particularly for people that have other people manage their account, and see if there's any kind of traction you're getting over time, if you don't know how to really judge whether or not the landing page and so on and so forth that your provider, if the provider actually has provided you, is any good. You can use the quality score and also just have a summary judgment of what landing pages and so forth and ads that they're making for you. So ultimately, with that, you got to be aware that now agencies are going to be pushing this Google account campaign optimization score more so, more heavily than they were before, and it may be skewing your results to the negative, just so that they could have that badge of honor saying that, I'm a Google partner. And that's me personally, just going off on a side tangent here a little bit. I've never really supported the Google Partner Program. I told people for years that just because, if you read a manual on how to be a nuclear technician, this stuff, people oversimplify it. Would that qualify you for going up and working on and making nuclear bombs? No, not at all. Not even the slightest. You're just, as they say, just smart enough to be dangerous, or just capable enough to be dangerous. And so with that, it doesn't really. What they ultimately need to do is interview people that, in which you manage their ads, and see if they make any money or not. That's all that matters. None of this other, basically garbage matters if that doesn't happen. And the same thing with ad industry awards. It doesn't actually measure whether or not the person made any money or not. Never has, never will, I don't think, because people don't. They want to snow you, essentially. You should be aware of that when you hire an ad agency. You got to know a little bit about how this stuff works, and just in order to outsource it. So people are going to be pushing it, and then more so than that, in terms of the individual consumer side that's running and managing their ads themselves, if that's you, there's suggestions that pop up in the upper right-hand corner of your ad account once you're logged in that recommend certain actions for you to take. And just had a client recently that was spending about 40 grand a month on ad spend, and had a fairly new account, and they would just go apply. Even though I was managing their account, I had to scold them a little bit, but in general, you got to know how the ad algorithm works. Every time you make a change, it's going to throw off your results, even if Google's suggesting a change too. You should be aware of that. So you have to know what changes are worth it and what not. And I can tell you right off the bat, every single change they're suggesting to you isn't good. It's just a programmer that tries to decide what you should get based upon all businesses all businesses are not the same. You have to be able, that's where a competent ad manager comes in a counter to play. You have to be able to analyze, does that particular feature make sense for your business or not, and then decide to use it or not from that, not just, approve. And ultimately, if it was that easy, there would be no opportunity for you. Everybody would just have a software that ran their ads and they would all be rich. Nothing in life is that easy. Or if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth having in the first place. And so you can really screw your account up pushing those things to make your Google campaign optimization score up, because if you do those things, it definitely will go up. And so you'll feel good about having 100% campaign optimization score if you did all the things Google wants you to do, but you're not making money or you're making less. So don't do that, essentially. And if you don't know what you're doing, don't do anything at all, and try to consult with somebody who can differentiate what they're suggesting to you. Now, their suggestions can be good and valid if you know which ones to say yes to and no to, instead of just summarily saying yes to everything, which is not what you want to do. That's my main point in all of this. And so, with that said, the Google Campaign Optimization Score and their suggestions on what you should do, which is, if you want to boil it down, it's, have you have enough ads with enough headlines in them? Do you have site links or not? Do you have automated bid optimization set up? Things that ultimately, just going to say it, help Google make more money, and more so are optimized for Google's goals than yours, in that they want to try to optimize the process as much through their machine learning algorithm. And so it isn't to your advantage to manually manage everything, because their system can't learn how to do stuff as fast as if they can get a bunch of people to do something the system suggests and then learn the byproduct of it, which short term probably will lose you money, but they'll learn how to then run their algorithm to help people who don't know how to manage their ads manage them, because that's the goal of what they're trying to do, because they want Joe Schmo, who doesn't know anything, to go in there in 5 minutes to be able to run some ads. Eventually, someday, it'll figure it out, whether that's 5, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. And you're going to be the test guinea pig, if you will, in the meantime. And when they have new features that come out, it's they're going to introduce them to you that way, and if you have a Google ad rep, they're going to introduce that to you that way, and then use the Google Campaign Optimization Score is kind of a proof of let's say here, this is what I suggested to you, that it works. When really you'll get a new campaign Google rep in 3 months, and then when you ask why it didn't work, you'll have somebody else and they'll suggest something else to you. That is really just to judge about whether or not you are being a good little boy or girl and doing all the things Google suggests to you in terms of all the new updates and features and what their machine learning algorithms trying to figure out about their system and how to automate their software. It's similar kind of, I'm sure you've all had this experience of using a software, a SaaS product, and they change the whole interface, and you're saying Google's obviously done that more than once, and I don't know how to use anything anymore. And then they try to use your frustration to figure out how to get through and then make the software better, or like Windows. They released it way before it's ready and then use people's complaints to improve it. It's kind of like what's going on here, in my opinion anyway, or as far as what I've seen quite a few times. People just auto-approving all the stuff and like what the point of it all is. So anyway, in a nutshell, then you can boil it all down. The higher campaign optimization score that you have, then the more money Google makes, the less, or not, I want to say less, but not necessarily that you make more money. You could make the same, you could make more. Probably not going to make more just doing every single thing that they suggest with no cognition, no thought about what they're suggesting to you at all. If you have no clue what you're doing, 90% chance it's not going to help you. Just going approve, like I said before. And so, in the end, quality score, this is really, in my opinion, the only thing that matters in terms of what they do give you as the tools is to judge whether or not you're doing very good. And not all the features can work for every business because every business is different. Sometimes site links you may have more or less. Sometimes you may have more. If you know how headlines work, not have 10 headlines in your ads now. There's no reason why everybody should have to have the exact same strategy. In the offline world, is there one thing everybody can do with their advertising that would always work for everybody? No. So why is it that people are thinking that there's just a way that is going to be able to be automatically applied to everybody, and that's going to be to the customer's benefit? And so you just don't drink the Kool-Aid necessarily, and try to think about things objectively. And then with that, make your decisions from there. If you don't, find a good ad manager that kind of explains some of these things a little bit more to you. But at least now not to blindly go in and work, not, I want to say ignore, but to just automatically worry. A lot of people worry about the campaign optimization score if it's a 70%. I run many campaigns that make millions of dollars in profit a year that have a campaign optimization score of 70. Sometimes we get a 90, but there's plenty of them that are in like the 70 range that make tons of money. Just to give you some general perspective about it, so you don't need to necessarily worry. And even if we're making millions of dollars a year, the clients still, and the reason why I made this video is because they'll still ask, why isn't my campaign optimization score 70%? Because they post it right up at the top. They do that for a reason. They want to scare you and get an action out of you. Don't fall for it. Or at least look into what they're trying to suggest to you and think about it objectively. Don't take anyone's opinion, whether they'll take their system's opinion, don't take the rep's opinion without blindly, is all I'll say. They can provide good advice, you just can't be going to it, can't be blind about it. And so, and if you're making money, don't, because your campaign optimization score is a 70, don't just go and try to, you're making $5 million a year. What if I could make 8 if I just approve all these changes to make my score 100? Bad move. Every change, at the very least, if there are good changes, you make a bunch of changes at once, you're going to have the results go totally skewed for 2 or 3 months as the algorithm relearns how to run your ads again, and you may go broke in the process. You can't take a 10% or greater hit on your revenue coming in because of all your staff and overhead, then do not do that. I can tell you 100% don't do that. Make the changes slowly, and then also obviously a bunch of the changes ain't going to work for you that they suggest to get your score up. So that don't just get 100 score just to get 100 score or a perfect score. Do it because what they suggested to you made sense and then implement it, and then maybe your score up, maybe it doesn't. In fact, just having the high score isn't a panacea. That just some general loose correlation as to how well your account is set up. If you had a campaign optimization score of 10%, that might be universally a bad problem, I would say. I will say that much. But if you have over 60%, it's not necessarily bad. To give you a frame of reference about what's going on with these Google campaign optimization scores. Anyway, that sums up about Google campaign optimization scores. You can check out my other videos. I release a video every day about other PPC money-making strategies using my 15 years of PPC experience to be able to show to you what to do with your Google ads to make money, what to avoid essentially. And if you go to GaryPPC.com, you can see a money-making PPC strategies blog there. A more in-depth guide as to how to set certain campaigns up to be able to actually make money in your business. If you'd like some feedback about what you're doing on the Google campaign optimization scores, go ahead and leave me a comment. I'll try to get back to you as to some advice about your particular unique situation. Hope you enjoyed the video.